What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler, and you can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Wednesday, May 14th. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league. Kicking things off with the bad news is starting pitcher Tanner Houck was placed on the 15-day IL with a flexor pronator strain. I think that might explain the lack of break on a sweeper that has been very notable this year. Somebody like Houck, who, when he came up, was somebody who was notable because of how much his sweeper broke. And I'm pretty sure that uses the pronating of your wrists to get that type of movement on the sweeper. So the flexor pronator strain, I think, would explain Houck's lack of movement on the sweeper. So hopefully some time off gets that pitch back to being what it was in the past, a huge whiff pitch for Houck. Cooper Criswell was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move, but the Boston Red Sox rotation replacement remains unclear for now. Next, we have starting pitcher Bryce Miller, who was placed on the 15-day IL with elbow inflammation. It's always a terrible notification to get when a pitcher has any sort of elbow injury. Miller received a cortisone shot, but the Mariners are optimistic that he'll return in the minimum time. But right now, they are missing Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and Bryce Miller. All three of those guys are on the IL. Pretty rough right now for the Mariners. Jonathan Diaz was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move, and it's possible he makes a couple spot starts to replace Miller, or maybe he pitches with an opener, or maybe they call up somebody else, but we'll see. Bryce Miller out for at least the next couple weeks. And lastly, starting pitcher Jose Quintana was placed on the 15-day IL with a shoulder impingement. The Brewers were just going to push him back a few days, which suggests that this should be a minimum stint for Jose Quintana. Starting pitcher Tobias Myers was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move, and he'll replace Quintana in the rotation. In terms of transactions, starting pitcher Logan Henderson was recalled from the minors to start in Cleveland yesterday, tossing 5 innings, allowing 4 hits and 2 earned runs while walking 1 and striking out 7. He induced 10 whiffs with 26% CSW across 72 pitches. Henderson went almost exclusively fastball changeup in this one, and it looks like he's going to stick in the rotation following that Quintana injury. Next, we have starting pitcher Ryan Weathers, who was activated from the 15-day IL to start in Chicago. He had been out to start the season with a forearm strain and will actually come back to the start a little bit later. Next, we have starting pitcher Colton Gordon, who was recalled from the minors to make his MLB debut versus the Royals. He is the Astros' number 14 prospect. He tossed 4 1/3 innings, allowing 7 hits and 3 earned runs while walking 2 and striking out 3. He induced just 2 whiffs with 22% CSW across 85 pitches. This is Colton Gordon making his MLB debut. His fastball earned 10 called strikes at 91 miles per hour with nearly 7 feet of extension and 15 inches of IVB, while the sinker was good at stealing strikes as well, but his secondaries were really bad, and I wouldn't suggest chasing Colton Gordon, and he's probably not going to stick in the rotation anyway. Next, we have catcher Austin Barnes, who was designated for assignment. That one definitely caught me by surprise. Barnes has been a longtime Dodger, 11 years playing for the club, and at 35 years old, this might be the end of his career, but we'll see. Maybe Austin Barnes catches on somewhere else, but it was for good reason. The Dodgers, in a corresponding move, selected the contract of top prospect catcher Dalton Rushing. Wow, I mixed it up with Dalton Varsho. That's pretty funny. Dalton Rushing, though, was selected from the minors. He is the Dodgers' number 1 prospect and the number 15 prospect in baseball, according to MLB Pipeline, and for good reason. In 2024, Rushing between AA and AAA batted .271 with 26 homers and a 146 WRC plus. And at AAA this year, he's batted .308 with 5 homers and a 145 WRC plus. He's very patient as well, seeing walk rates over double digits throughout his minor league career. But it doesn't look like Rushing's going to get a lot of playing time. Obviously, that Dodgers lineup is stacked, and they've got Will Smith at the catcher position. So it sounds like Rushing is going to catch twice a week and is probably not going to see any time in the outfield. I'd say that this is probably not worth your time in fantasy, despite Rushing's pedigree, because he's not going to play enough. Next, we have third baseman Jace Young, who was optioned to the minors. He had been playing for the Tigers, obviously one of their top prospects for a couple of years, but he struggled to a 111 average with no homers and a 16 WRC plus to start the 2025 season. So he'll head back to the minors, try to regain some confidence back at the plate. It looks like Zach McKinstry is likely to shift over to third base and see more time at the hot corner for the Tigers. They recalled outfielder Akil Baddoo from the minors in a corresponding movement. It looks like he's going to be their fourth outfielder moving forward. And lastly, we have third baseman Ramon Urias, who is activated from the 10-day IL. He's been out for 11 days with a hamstring strain. Before the injury, Urias was batting .292 with 2 homers and a 118 WRC plus, and he should play third base every day for the Orioles moving forward, at least until Jordan Westberg returns from the IL. Outfielder Dylan Carlson was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. And lastly, our only bit of news, very unfortunate, relief pitcher Ben Joyce, the hard-throwing righty of the Angels, underwent season-ending shoulder surgery yesterday. So that rules Ben Joyce out for the season. Looks like Ryan Zephyr-John's going to get a lot of hold opportunities, and Kenley Jansen's role in the closer spot is very secure, but very unfortunate from Joyce. Hopefully he comes back full strength next year, throwing 104 miles per hour once again. Now we'll take a look at some of the notable performances from Wednesday, a day in which we had a packed slate of 17 games as the Twins and Orioles, as well as the Cardinals and Phillies, partook in double headers. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with Tyler Soderstrom, who did all he could, but the A's lost in Hollywood. He went 2 for 4 with a run, a double, a home run, and 2 runs batted in. It was his 10th homer of the year, and it traveled 414 feet at 108 miles per hour. Soderstrom got off to an incredible start to the season. In his first 20 games, he batted .325 with 9 homers and a 201 WRC plus. That came with a 19% barrel rate and a 52% hard hit rate that supported that impressive run to start the season, as well as a 41% fly ball rate and a 17% strikeout rate, which is something that Soderstrom struggled with, lifting the ball and not striking out. But he was doing everything we wanted to see, hitting the ball hard, consistently lifting it and not striking out. But I think now, after 23 more games, it's time to see how he's been doing since that hot start. And before yesterday, where obviously he hit a home run and a double, he was batting .238 with no homers, a 72 WRC plus in 22 games. So very steep fall off there from Soderstrom. His barrel rate plummeted down to 11%. His hard hit rate didn't fall too much, just 3% down to 49%. But most notably, the fly ball rate down to 33%. That's minus 8% there. And the strikeout rate ballooned up to 30%. That's a plus 13% increase to his strikeout rate. So that's all the things that we did not want to see from Soderstrom coming back to life. Way too many strikeouts, not lifting the ball, not impacting the ball like he used to. And pitchers are attacking him with more breaking pitches, which is a clear reason why he's struggling so much. He's seen a 6% decrease in fastballs to him over the last 22 days. And Soderstrom has not been able to adjust. Maybe this game was the start of some sort of adjustment for Soderstrom, but I really hope you sold high while you could, because we are seeing the floor here with Soderstrom. Next, we have Hyesung Kim, who helped the Dodgers to a win against the A's on the other side. He went 2 for 2 with a run, a home run, and an RBI. It was his first homer of the year and the first of his career. It traveled 385 feet at 104 miles per hour. And Kim is getting pretty regular ABs at second base and in center field for the Dodgers while batting ninth, which, contrary to popular belief, is actually a great spot for runs in the Dodgers lineup, at least because he's batting in front of Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, and Mookie Betts. That's a great lineup spot for Kim when he's batting ninth, and all the regulars are in the lineup. As for Kim's on-field performance, let's go all the way back to his call-up to really get an idea of what's going on. He wasn't overly impressive at AAA. His first taste of baseball stateside, batting .252 with a 105 WRC plus and a 24% strikeout rate, but Kim hit 5 homers and stole 13 bases in just 28 games. So it's obvious that the fantasy potential is there for Hyesung Kim. He's hit very well since being recalled, batting .360 with an 840 OPS to go with that 1 homer and a pair of steals. And StatCast likes him despite a lack of barrels entering Wednesday, suggesting that the batting average is somewhat deserved. And I think Kim is obviously worth the time in 15-team leagues and deeper while he's on the strong side of a platoon. And if he can continue to tap into the power that he displayed on Wednesday, Kim is on the path towards standard league relevancy because of the team that he plays for. Just playing for the Dodgers really just makes you fantasy relevant almost automatically. Lastly, we have shortstop Xander Bogaerts, who helped the Padres to a win versus the Angels, going 1-for-4 with a pair of runs, a home run, and 3 runs batted in. It was his third homer of the year, and it traveled 393 feet at 107 miles per hour. The shift to second base didn't treat Bogaerts well offensively last year, as he posted a 95 WRC plus, his lowest since 2017, and the return to shortstop hasn't been kind to him either. But he's making a conscious effort to get back on track, sporting the lowest swing rate of his career, leading to a career high 12% walk rate for Bogaerts. The trade-off is his highest strikeout rate since 2014, but he's also looking to pull the ball in the air more, with his highest fly ball rate since 2019 and his highest pull rate since 2021. Unfortunately, that also hasn't translated to success for Bogaerts, as his 4% barrel rate is the lowest of his career since 2017. This is a very different Bogaerts, and I'm not sure it's any better than his diminished 2024 version. And if he wasn't playing every day in the middle of the Padres lineup, I'd probably say you should drop him. But if you'd like more breakdowns of notable hitting performances from Wednesday, check out the daily Batters Box article over on PitcherList.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Ryan Weathers, who helped the Marlins to a win in Chicago, tossing 5 innings, allowing 2 hits and 1 run while walking 1, striking out 5. He induced 10 whiffs with 33% CSW across 76 pitches. This was Weathers' first start of the season, returning from a forearm injury, and he actually displayed some interesting underlying metrics in concert with the success that he found on the field. Weathers' fastball was up to 97 miles per hour with an extra 2 inches of vert to 16.5 inches, as it thrived upstairs with 5 whiffs and 32% CSW, while his changeup stayed arm side for 2 whiffs and 39% CSW. Weathers' sweeper was poorly located, but it was successful with a pair of whiffs and 33% CSW, and all 3 of his main pitches held a strike rate over 65%, and the fact that this came against the Cubs makes it even more impressive. And that improved fastball really changes things for Weathers, but he'll be tested again with the Cubs next time out. And I think you're going to have to jump in now if you want in on Weathers, because if he goes off again against the Cubs again with that same fastball, he's not going to be available for his third start of the season. Next, we have Patrick Corbin, who helped the Rangers to win versus the Rockies, tossing 6 innings, allowing 4 hits and 3 earned runs while walking 1 and striking out 9. He induced 15 whiffs with 35% CSW, and Corbin has somehow been making it work this year with a 3.35 ERA across 7 starts, after being the worst qualified pitcher according to ERA in baseball for a few years running. Corbin got Rocky Road and a right-handed heavy lineup and had one of his best starts in ages. His slider was amazing downstairs with 10 whiffs and 40% CSW, while his sinker nibbled the edges for 7 called strikes and 3 whiffs. It struggled to earn strikes, but that's sort of where the cutter came in, at the pitch that Nick has begged Corbin to throw for years now. That pitch showed up for 23% usage here, earning 73% strikes and 36% CSW, which helped keep Corbin in at bats when the slider and the sinker were unable to find the zone. All that being said, Corbin is merely a desperate streamer against weak opponents. He's better than he has been in years past because of the team behind him and the incorporation of that cutter, but even still, he's not good enough to start in Yankee Stadium in his next time out. And lastly, speaking of Yankees, the Luis Castillo took on the Yankees, but the Mariners lost. He tossed 6 innings, allowing 6 hits and 1 run while walking 2 and striking out 6. He induced 17 whiffs with 32% CSW. And we had sort of been losing faith in Castillo in standard leagues as his stuff continues to decline. We've seen more walks and fewer strikeouts and disaster ratios. He's got a 3.65 ERA, but a 1.38 whip on the season. But Castillo did a great job of clinging on to his spot on fantasy rosters on Wednesday, taking down the mighty Bronx Bombers. He got his heater back up to 95 after sitting 93.5 last time out, and he located it pristinely upstairs, inducing 8 whiffs with 36% CSW, while Castillo kept his slider low for 7 whiffs and 34% CSW, and his once signature changeup completely disappeared, which is something with Castillo that has happened across or sort of gradually throughout his career is the disappearance of that changeup, which once was his signature pitch, is now something that he threw just 8 times on Wednesday. And then his sinker really failed to be the ancillary strike pitch he needs it to be, but the return of that four-seamer and the success of his slider was enough to take down the Yankees in this one. And I think Castillo should have no problem remaining on fantasy rosters for at least another week with the White Sox in Chicago on deck. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Wednesday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Shelby Miller recorded his 3rd save as he worked around a run to secure the win. Yohan Duran secured his 8th save with a scoreless 9th. Cole Sands pitched a perfect 9th to record his 1st save of the season in the second half of that doubleheader. That's why Yohan Duran didn't pitch in that one. Jordan Romano struck out the side in order to record his 4th save. Jose Alvarado pitched in that one. He faced the top of the order in the 8th, but he only recorded 1 out. It's somewhat of a committee, but I still think Alvarado is the top dog in Philadelphia. Luke Weaver struck out the side in order to record his 4th save. Jimmy Garcia recorded a perfect 9th to secure his 3rd save. Jeff Hoffman melted down on Tuesday, so he had Wednesday off. Mike Vassell recorded the 1st save of his career with a hitless 9th. There's now 3 different White Sox relievers with a save, including Vassell. There's Cam Boozer and Brandon Eisert, so it's really not clear who's the closer in Chicago. It is clear, though, in Washington, where Kyle Finnegan recorded his 13th save with a scoreless 9th. Jesus Tinoco recorded his 4th save with a perfect 9th. And lastly, Josh Hader recorded his 10th save with a hitless 9th. In terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or below their saves, Ryan Walker pitched a hitless 9th with the Giants trailing by 2. They're off today, so it was really a maintenance outing. David Bednar pitched a perfect 8th, down by 4. The Pirates are also off today, so another maintenance outing there. Robert Suarez pitched a perfect 9th, up by 4. The Padres put up 2 insurance runs in the 8th, so it sort of makes sense here that he was warming up ready for the save, and then got it ruined by his offense trying to win the game. What's wrong with them? Next, we have Trevor McGill, who pitched a hitless 9th, up by 4. Milwaukee tacked on 2 insurance runs in the top half to ruin his save as well. Aroldis Chapman surrendered a walk-off single to Justin Henry Malloy in a tie game to take his 2nd loss, and Will Vest pitched a scoreless 9th in that game and earned his 3rd win when the Tigers walked it off in the bottom half off of Chapman. Porter Hodge pitched a scoreless 9th, trailing by 2. The Cubs are off today, so this was a maintenance outing for Hodge. And lastly, Carlos Estevez recorded the final 2 outs of the 8th, but it allowed the inherited winning run to score in the process. The Royals did obviously lose that game. But if you'd like more information on relievers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Thursday, May 15th, a day in which we'll have just 6 games on the slate, so I'll take the time to break down each one of our matchups. We'll start it off with the A's taking on the Dodgers in LA. We'll see Osvaldo Bido take on Ben Casparius. He'll probably get an opener in that one. Bido is not somebody we want to trust, especially against the Dodgers. Even when he does throw strikes, he's not getting a lot of strikeouts. I mean, he's faced the White Sox a couple times and he pitched fine, but he only struck out a couple batters. So even when you do want to stream him, it's not even worth it. But Casparius here is definitely interesting. Got a increased win chance, especially pitching for the Dodgers, but also with an opener that gives Casparius a good chance at a win, especially because the A's lineup is not as hot as it was to start the season. It's definitely deadlier than it's been in the past, but we're playing in LA. I think Casparius should have no problem taking down the A's. That's a pretty good streaming option there. Next, we have, or in terms of hitters there, you probably want to stream Dodgers hitters as much as possible, but I don't think you want to go for A's hitters against Casparius, considering how much success he's had to start the season. Now we'll move on to the Nationals, who will take on the Braves in Atlanta. We'll see Trevor Williams on the mound for the Nats, and the Braves will turn to AJ Smith-Shawver. Obviously, never Trevor here, but with AJ Smith-Shawver, he's been really good since returning from the minors over his past few starts. That splitter is really confounding. It sometimes looks like a changeup, sometimes it looks like a knuckleball, but he's found success so far, and he gets a pretty low lineup with the Nationals. So I think Smith-Shawver is worth the stream there. In terms of hitters, I would definitely go for Braves hitters here against Trevor Williams. He is not one of the best pitchers in in baseball. So maybe the Braves hitters can take advantage of that. Next, we'll move on to the Twins, who will be taking on the Orioles in Baltimore. We'll see Chris Paddock take on Tomoyuki Sugano. Paddock's been actually pretty solid this year since that early blow up against the White Sox. He's a Toby, though. However, the Orioles have been surprisingly awful this year. The last time I checked, they were in last place in the AL East, which is not what I would have expected from this team in the offseason, but so be it. That's where it is. Maybe Paddock can take them down. That's probably a deeper league stream for me. Though Sugano on the other side, taking on the Twins, is definitely somebody I'm looking at in standard leagues. He's been really solid as a Toby and has sort of been taking those next steps into Holly territory as he adjusts to major league pitching. He's been able to display his incredible command as well as some more whiffability on his secondary. So I think Sugano's a solid option for a stream there against the Twins. In terms of hitters, you don't want to go for right-handed hitters in Baltimore, even with that wall being pulled in. Tyler O'Neill has really struggled there, I think, because of that. But I'm still fine streaming Baltimore hitters against Chris Paddock if you can find some lefties. Next, we'll talk about the White Sox, who will take on the Reds in Cincinnati. We'll see Bryce Wilson take on Nick Martinez. This is an obvious option for streaming hitters, as Bryce Wilson is not spectacular. I think the Reds hitters should be able to take advantage of that. But most importantly, they're playing in Great American Ballpark, which is probably the second best hitters ballpark in baseball if you're not counting the minor league stadiums that some other teams play in. But the Reds and White Sox should have a big offensive performance here. I also think it's fine to stream Nick Martinez here. The White Sox lineup is that bad, and Nick Martinez is a solid Toby. Next, we'll talk about the Rays, who will take on the Blue Jays in Toronto. We'll see Zach Littell take on Kevin Gausman. Not a huge fan of Littell. Sometimes he throws a bunch of sliders and makes it work, but probably not going to stream that one. Kevin Gausman is also very much of a cherry bomb with the inconsistencies with his splitter nowadays and the lack of dominance on his fastball and his other pitches. Though Gausman is probably somebody you're going to start against the Rays no matter what. So we'll see how that goes. In terms of hitters, they're playing in Toronto. I don't think it's super spectacular. Maybe go for some left-handed hitting Blue Jays hitters against Zach Littell. I don't know. I wouldn't target this one specifically. I like that Reds matchup a lot more. And our last matchup, we'll see the Astros take on the Rangers in Texas. We'll see Hunter Brown taking on Jacob deGrom on the mound. This is definitely my matchup of the day. Hunter Brown has been really great this year with his upper 90s fastball, while Jacob deGrom is one of the best pitchers of his generation. Always excited to watch him. So I think that matchup is great. Obviously, I think I said obviously a lot this time, but neither of these guys are somebody that you can stream because they're just rostered everywhere, and you definitely don't want to start streaming hitters against Hunter Brown or Jacob deGrom. So this is one where you're just going to sit back and enjoy. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. Trevor Hooth will be with you tomorrow and throughout the weekend. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.